head with dinner.
In the heart of Hall County, Georgia, there lies a dark secret beneath the calm waters of Lake Lanier. Once, this serene lake was nothing more than a winding river, and the land around it held a hidden history, a history that the people of the region preferred to forget. In the late 1950s, progress came to Hall County in the form of a colossal project to build a dam. The goal was to create a vast reservoir, Lake Lanier, to provide water and electricity for the growing population of Atlanta. However, to achieve this, they had to flood a town called Oscarville, along with several other smaller communities. The people of Oscarville were forced to abandon their homes, leaving behind not just their houses, but their memories, their history, and their souls. For decades, the town of Oscarville lay beneath the tranquil surface of Lake Lanier, its submerged structures serving as a haunting reminder of a forgotten past. It wasn't long before strange stories began to circulate among the locals. Fishermen who dared to venture too close to the old town site spoke of eerie sensations, as if unseen eyes were watching them from the watery depths. One fateful night, a group of friends decided to test these tales for themselves. Armed with nothing more than a rickety boat and a few flashlights, they set out onto the dark expanse of Lake Lanier, determined to uncover the truth about Oscarville's watery grave. As they approached the submerged town, the air grew colder and a thick fog rolled in, obscuring their view. They anchored their boat and shone their flashlights into the murky water, revealing eerie outlines of houses, streets, and trees that had been swallowed by the lake. The friends laughed nervously, dismissing the unease that crept over them. That was when they heard it, a mournful, ghostly wail rising from the depths. It was a sound like no other, a chorus of lost souls trapped in an underwater purgatory. Panic gripped their hearts as the wailing intensified, and they struggled to lift the anchor, desperate to escape. But something unseen lurked below, entangling their boat with spectral fingers. The water around them darkened, and the wails grew louder. One by one, the flashlights flickered and died, leaving them in pitch darkness. The last thing they heard before their screams joined the haunting chorus was a whisper, carried on the chilling breeze. "You have awakened the town that sleeps beneath the waves. Now, you shall join us in eternity." To this day, the friends who ventured to Oscarville remain missing. Their boat never recovered. Locals warn against venturing too close to the submerged town, claiming that the souls of Oscarville's residents still linger in the murky depths, waiting for the next unsuspecting visitor to join them in their watery tomb. And as the moon casts an eerie glow on the surface of Lake Lanier, the mournful wails of the town beneath the waves continue to echo through the night, serving as a chilling reminder of a dark and forgotten past. My name is Max, and for as long as I can remember, I've scoffed at ghost stories and urban legends. I've always been the skeptic among my friends, dismissing tales of haunted places as mere superstition. But that all changed one fateful night at Lake Lanier. Growing up in Hall County, Georgia, I'd heard countless stories about the submerged town beneath the lake's placid surface. The locals spoke of eerie happenings, strange visions, and the persistent whispers of ghosts haunting the area. Despite my friends' insistence that we should investigate these disturbing mysteries, I brushed them off as nonsense. One sweltering summer evening, curiosity finally got the better of me. My friends, Sarah and Jake, had been pestering me for weeks, urging me to confront my skepticism. They'd heard the stories too and were convinced that something sinister lurked beneath the lake. Reluctantly, I agreed to join them, if only to prove them wrong. As we rowed our rented boat out onto the inky waters of Lake Lanier, the setting sun cast eerie shadows on the surface, making me uneasy. Sarah and Jake, on the other hand, were filled with excitement, fueled by the thrill of the unknown. The boat creaked as we anchored near the submerged town site, the once vibrant community now an eerie underwater graveyard. Sarah and Jake began whispering about the legends, the souls of Oscarville's residents lingering beneath the waves, their cries haunting anyone who dared to approach. I chuckled, dismissing their words. Ghosts were the stuff of fiction, after all. But as night descended upon us, a shroud of fog rolled in from nowhere, obscuring our view. My skepticism wavered. The air grew colder, and I could feel an inexplicable sense of dread creeping over me. I grasped my flashlight tightly, the beam revealing the ghostly outlines of houses below. We all gasped when a mournful, otherworldly wail echoed through the fog. My heart pounded as panic gripped me. Sarah and Jake looked at me with wide, terrified eyes, their earlier excitement replaced by sheer terror. We fumbled to lift the anchor, but it was as if invisible hands held us in place. The water darkened around us, and the wails grew louder, filling the night with a bone-chilling cacophony. Our flashlights flickered and died, plunging us into an abyss of darkness. And then, in the pitch-black silence, I heard sinister whispers that sent shivers down my spine. Sarah and Jake screamed, their voices merging with the haunting chorus below. The boat shuddered as something unseen dragged us downward into the depths of the lake. The water closed in around us, suffocating and icy, and I could feel cold, clammy fingers brushing against my skin. In that harrowing moment, my skepticism shattered like glass, replaced by sheer terror and a horrifying realization. I had encountered something beyond explanation, something that defied my rational beliefs. Panic surged through me as the water closed in, icy tendrils reaching for us. My heart pounded like a drum, and a paralyzing fear gripped my every nerve. Amid the chaos, I fumbled blindly for Sarah and Jake. My fingers brushed against their shoulders, and I clung to them desperately. But it was as if the very air itself had become thick, resisting our movements. We struggled, our breaths quickening as we fought against the unseen entity that dragged us deeper into the watery abyss. I had heard stories of people who had encountered strange phenomena at Lake Lanier. Disappearing boats, inexplicable cold spots, and the eerie feeling of being watched from below. I had scoffed at these tales, dismissing them as the products of overactive imaginations. But now, as I grappled with the suffocating darkness, I realized that there was a truth far more sinister than I had ever imagined. The clammy fingers that had brushed against my skin grew more persistent, their touch sending shivers down my spine. It was as if the spirits of Oscarville were reaching out to claim us, their spectral grip tightening with every passing moment. In the pitch-black void, I could hear Sarah and Jake's labored breathing, punctuated by terrified whimpers. My mind raced, searching for any semblance of a plan, but all I could see were the ghostly outlines of submerged buildings and the glimmers of ethereal figures in the water. I didn't want us to be another news cover. 3 reported missing at Lake Lanier. After a brutal struggle to get back on the boat, I grabbed my cell phone and called 911. I managed to muster up enough strength to pull my friends out of the water. We waited what seemed to be hours to be rescued. Suddenly, a blinding light pierced the darkness. It was a spotlight from a passing police boat. The beam cut through the fog, revealing our desperate struggle. As if responding to this intrusion, the spectral forces relented for a moment, allowing us to regain control of our boat. With renewed determination, we pulled up the anchor and powered the boat away from the accursed spot. The wails of the town beneath the waves faded into the distance. Once we reached the safety of the shore, we stumbled out of the boat, our bodies trembling with shock. A group of concerned onlookers had gathered, having heard our screams and seen the strange phenomenon on the lake. We tried to explain what had happened, but our words were disjointed, filled with fear and disbelief. The police took our statements, their expressions a mixture of skepticism and concern. They had heard tales of strange occurrences on the lake before, but our story pushed the boundaries of belief. Still, they promised to investigate the matter further, though I doubted they would uncover anything conclusive. As we left the lake that night, Sarah, Jake, and I were forever changed. The once unshakable skepticism that had defined me had crumbled in the face of the inexplicable. I had witnessed something beyond rational explanation, and it left me with a sense of dread that would linger long after the events of that night. In the weeks that followed, we became obsessed with uncovering the truth about the submerged town and the spirits that haunted it. We delved into the local history, seeking answers that might explain our harrowing experience. It was during this research that we stumbled upon a diary, a relic of Oscarville's past. The diary belonged to a woman named Eleanor, who had lived in Oscarville during its heyday. Her words spoke of a vibrant town, a close-knit community that thrived on the shores of the Chattahoochee River. But as we read further, her entries grew darker, filled with references to strange happenings and ghostly apparitions. Eleanor described how, in the years leading up to the town's submersion, the residents had become increasingly superstitious. They spoke of voices in the night, whispers that echoed from the depths of the river, and sightings of shadowy figures beneath the water's surface. Many believed that these phenomena were warnings, signs that Oscarville's fate was sealed. One passage in particular sent chills down our spines. The spirits of the river are restless, and they hunger for company. They yearn to claim what is rightfully theirs, to drag us down into the depths, to make us one with them. As we pored over Eleanor's words, it became clear that the haunting legends of Oscarville were not merely the products of local folklore. They were rooted in the very history of the town, a history tainted by tragedy and the unrelenting power of the river. Determined to unravel the mystery, we returned to Lake Lanier, armed with the diary and a newfound sense of purpose. This time, we were not there out of curiosity. We were on a quest for answers. The following night, we returned to the lake. We anchored the boat once again near the submerged town site, but this time, we came prepared. We brought with us an assortment of tools, including underwater cameras and sonar equipment. Our goal was to capture evidence of the supernatural and, if possible, communicate with the restless spirits that dwelled below. As we descended into the icy depths of the lake, the ghostly outlines of buildings and trees came into view. We maneuvered the underwater cameras, capturing footage of the eerie landscape. The water was clearer than we had expected, allowing us to see further into the depths. As we scanned the murky waters, the sonar equipment began to emit a series of strange, pulsating signals. Our excitement grew as we realized that something was down there, something that was not a natural part of the lake. We followed the signals, descending deeper into the abyss. The visibility decreased, and the water grew colder, but we pressed on. It felt as if we were being drawn toward an unseen force, a presence that defied explanation. Suddenly, the underwater cameras captured a chilling image, a shadowy figure, ethereal and indistinct, moving among the submerged ruins. It was a ghostly apparition, a manifestation of the spirits. We watched in terror as the figure drew closer, its form becoming clearer with each passing moment. It was a woman, her eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. She reached out toward the camera, her hand passing through the equipment as if it were not there. Then she spoke, a whispered, mournful plea that sent shivers down our spines. "Help us," she implored, her voice echoing through the depths. "Help us find peace." Tears filled my eyes as I realized the depth of the tragedy that had befallen Oscarville. These were not malevolent spirits seeking to harm us. They were souls trapped in a watery purgatory, yearning for release. We continued to communicate with the spirits, learning their stories and offering them solace. They spoke of the night the floodwaters had risen, of their frantic attempts to escape the rising tide, and of the inexorable pull of the river that had claimed them. As the hours passed, we formed a connection with these lost souls, a connection that transcended the boundaries of the living and the dead. And then, with a sense of closure and finality, they began to fade, their apparitions growing fainter until they were no more. When we resurfaced, we knew that we had witnessed something extraordinary, something that defied rational explanation. Our encounter with the spirits of Oscarville had changed us, not as skeptics, but as believers in the existence of a world beyond our understanding. In the years that followed, we dedicated ourselves to preserving the memory of the submerged town and its tragic history. We shared our story with the world, hoping to bring awareness to the spirits that still lingered beneath the waves. And as we gazed out over the serene waters of Lake Lanier, we knew that the restless souls of Oscarville had found a measure of peace, their voices no longer haunting the night. But the memory of that chilling night at Lake Lanier would forever stay with us, a reminder that some mysteries are best left untouched, and that the line between the living and the dead is sometimes thinner than we dare to imagine.